Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where leaders inspire leaders. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
Welcome to our show, Dick.
Hi guys, it's great to be here.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the Dgm Group?
Well, Dgm Group actually got named when I was out of town. We were looking for an operating company name to put on a real estate business that I was running at the time. And I came back from a trip, and my staff said, hey, we named the company DGM. And I said, oh, how wonderful, Dick Gushman Management. And they said, no, Damn Good Management. So that's how it got named, and it's the operating company that we use to run the properties that we build and own and manage here in the state.
It seems like you have a number of businesses, though. You have OKOA, Dgm Group, you have various things. Can you maybe explain a little bit?
Well, we try to make it as confusing as possible as we go along, but they're different companies that do different things. But essentially the business that we're in involves real estate in different permutations. We build stuff from ground up, we buy things and manage them and operate them. Sometimes we do development management for others. So what we do kind of runs a pretty big spectrum of the business.
And how long have you been in real estate?
I started at a really young age. My mother was trained as an architect, and my dad was a real estate developer and a contractor in the Midwest where I grew up in Ohio. So I went to work for my father in the construction business when I was 12, not voluntarily, and kind of grew from there. And so I've been involved in it originally from the construction side when I was young. And I started the development business here in 1972.
Can you tell us a story, maybe when you're working in construction when you're younger, something that was interesting or maybe has molded you to today?
You know, my memories of this business after being in it for all this time is a composite of stuff. I remember my father asking me to go out in the field every summer and work in construction. And I remember him telling me philosophically all the time that this was going to be a great experience. And I remember standing out there and it was like 90 degrees thinking, this is not a great experience. And when I decided to start to build my own stuff, and I got into meetings and I was out in the field and I was talking to people, and I remembered exactly the experiences that I'd had when I was at that age. And they proved to be invaluable. The collection of those experiences proved to be tremendously helpful to me. So I think Mark Twain said his father got a lot smarter as he got older. I think that proved to be the case for me too.
Was there someone in particular that you spoke to that left you with a message that really made you realize that you want to go into this real estate path, following your father?
No, actually, Carrie, it was somewhat serendipitous, as you said in your preamble. I came here as a merchant seaman, originally on a research ship doing a film for National Geographic. And we came back through here in 1971, and in 1972 I came back with then my brand new wife, and who was pregnant at the time, and she and I came back here. She was going to go to the university, and I was going to continue my marine business. And the day I arrived here, the company that I had a job with filed for bankruptcy, so I went through a career change the following day, and really all I knew was the real estate experiences that I'd had. So I started into this business as a substitute for what I really came out here to do, and so I'm still doing it. I haven't learned anything in 35 years.
What was that day like for you? Can you recap it? I know maybe it was painful, but what was the day like?
Well, as I said, my wife was pregnant and she wasn't feeling well, and so I went down and had breakfast by myself, and I opened up the advertiser and then went like this, and it said this company files bankruptcy. It was on the top of the front page. So it sort of took the wind out of my breakfast. Wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped it was going to be. I'd been here for 12 hours. So I went upstairs and she said, what was in the paper? And I said, oh, nothing, honey. So I didn't want to make her upset. She was pregnant. So I realized that I had to find something else to do, and I didn't know anyone here, and so I went around and began to interview with people to see if I could find a job, and fortunately I was able to get several opportunities because we were in a very strong real estate cycle at the time. So luck is a huge part of everybody's journey in life, and I've certainly had more than my share of that. So I happened to be here at a time when that involuntary career shift proved not to be as devastating as it might otherwise have been.
And at that time you decided to go in and work with McCormick, is that right?
I did. I got a job working for the McCormick Corporation. They were the largest real estate residential sales firm at the time, and they had a development subsidiary, which was run by a guy named Duncan McNaughton. And so I went to work for Duncan, and I think, if I remember correctly, at that time I was 26 and he was 28. Between us, we knew everything, so we were very lucky in that respect. And I worked for Duncan in that company for, I think, 11 months, and I decided to start my own company. Probably an impetuous decision, but anyway, I left and went on my own.
Were you always planning to start your own company, or did you think you would be a company man when you first went in?
It's a good question, Evan. I'm not sure I ever really thought about it, although I would say that I have always been more comfortable making my own decisions, right or wrong, and living with the outcomes than otherwise. So since I only have an 11-month history as an employee, I can't tell you how good I've been, because it was a pretty short stay. And then Duncan, 3 years later, asked me to go to lunch, and we were talking. He said, I noticed that you seem to be doing well, and if you can do it, anybody can do it, so why don't we do it together? And so that's how we started our term together.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.